Hello everyone and welcome to my video lecture series. So today we are going to start with a topic called as the structure of neuron. Okay, and we are going to study the structure of a multipolar neuron. We have already covered what a multipolar neuron is in my previous lecture, right? If you have yet not subscribed to my channel and you are watching the video, please do subscribe and press the bell icon so that you will be notified immediately as soon as I upload my new video. Anyway, coming back to the topic for today, it is going to be structure of a multipolar neuron. Now, if you have still not seen my previous lecture, the previous lecture is about the three types of neurons: unipolar, bipolar and multipolar. So please go and watch that video and then you can watch this, because I have explained what exactly a multipolar neuron is. Okay, now when we talk about a neuron, okay, what is a neuron? So a neuron is the most essential cell of the nervous tissue, right? Nervous tissue is made up of many different cells. There are the neurons. Okay, now neurons are also called as the nerve cells. So let me write it down over here. When we talk about nervous tissue, then the nervous tissue is made up of neurons, or they are also called as the nerve cells. And the other type of cells which are present in the nervous tissue, they are called as helper cells, or they are also called as neuroglial cells, right? And in this lecture we are not going to talk about the neuroglial cells. I will make a separate lecture on that. So out of all these cells which are present, the main cells are the neurons. You can say that the neurons are basically forming the structural and functional unit of the nervous tissue. Okay, so these are the most important cells of the nervous tissue. Now, when we talk about the structure of a neuron is basically made up of two important components, right? We have already seen this in the previous lecture. So each neuron is made of the main body, and it is also made up of fibers, right? The body is called as the cyton, or it is also called as the soma. Okay, and the fibers are of two types. They are axon and dendrons, correct? So we have seen this in the last lecture. So basically in today's lecture we are going to cover the entire physical structure of a multipolar neuron. Okay, so let us start with the structure. Let me rub this off. Okay, first of all we are going to study how the cyton is present, what is the structure, what are the different things present in the cyton. So the cyton is normally a globular or a spherical structure, if you see, and it is somewhat like this. The structure which you see, which is spherical or globular, this is called as the cyton. You can say that it resembles the main part of the neuron, right? It is the main part of the neuron where all the organelles, nucleus, right, the cytoplasm, all that is going to be present in this part, and that is why it is called as the main part of the neuron, and this is also called as the cyton or the soma. Now these spaces which I have kept them for dendrons, so I will draw them later on. Now when you look at a cyton, inside the cyton is present the cytoplasm, all right, and inside the cytoplasm is present the nucleus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different color over here for nucleus, and the nucleus is a fully formed nucleus. So that means a nuclear membrane will be present, all right, then there will be nucleolus which will be present. Okay, then the matrix which will be present, that will be called as the nucleoplasm. So all these things are present. So it is a well formed nucleus. Please remember this. I am labeling it over here, well defined nucleus. What do you mean by a well defined nucleus? It has got nuclear membrane, it has got nucleoplasm, and it has got nucleolus. All these things are present. Okay, now surrounding the nucleus is the cytoplasm, okay, or the matrix which is present, the jelly like substance in which all the other organelles will be present. Now when you see the nucleus, the next layer of cytoplasm which is immediately surrounding the nucleus, let me draw the cytoplasm with yellow color. So the immediate layer of cytoplasm which is surrounding the nucleus, that is quite clear, okay, and outside the clear layer, the layer of cytoplasm which is present, that is granulated. So over here, the yellow markings which I am doing, that is basically the clear cytoplasm which is present. By clear I mean that there are no fibrils or there are no pigments which are present. But outside this clear layer of cytoplasm, there is an outermost layer of cytoplasm which is present, in which all the organelles are present. Okay, then there are Nissel's granules which are present, neurofibrils which are present. Now I am not going to draw the organelles over here. There are different organelles present: Golgi body, mitochondria, okay, lysosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, all those organelles, okay, which are typically found in a eukaryotic cell. All these are present inside the cytoplasm. However, two important things which are present over here are the granules which are present, okay, and these are called as Nissel's granules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a different color and I'm going to draw this circular or spherical structures which are present. As you can see, they are present towards the periphery, okay, they are not present near the nucleus. The nucleus is surrounded by a clear layer of cytoplasm, and outside this clear layer are present these structures which are present, okay. So these structures are basically called as Nissel's granules. Nissel was a person who discovered them, okay. So Nissel's granules, I will tell you the function of this. And apart from the Nissel granules, there are other structures which are formed over here, okay, and these structures are called as neurofibrils. So I'm going to use the orange color, and if you can see, I am drawing smaller granulated structures over here. Again, the neurofibrils are present towards the periphery of the cyton, towards the outer circumference of the cyton. They are not present in the inner area of the cyton, okay. So these orange color parts are basically your neurofibrils, okay. So I hope this is clear. And apart from that, this part which is present, okay, this plain yellow color, that is the matrix. Matrix is the cytoplasm which is present. I hope it is clear. So the cyton is basically made up of a well-formed nucleus which is having nucleolus, nuclear membrane, and the matrix called as nucleoplasm. Then the next layer of cytoplasm which is present outside the nucleus, that is clear. That means there are no neurofibrils, there are no Nissel granules in that. But outside that clear layer of cytoplasm are present the Nissel's granules. There are neurofibrils which are present. These are small spherical structures which give the cytoplasm a dotted appearance. And apart from that, the organelles are also present, which I have not drawn over here. Is this clear? Now coming to the function of Nissel's granules and neurofibrils. What are the functions? Now these Nissel's granules which are present, these are basically playing a very important role in the formation of a neurotransmitter. Now let me write down the word over here. What is the meaning of neurotransmitter? See, neurotransmitters are basically chemicals which are released by one neuron, okay, and they go and attach to the next neuron. So basically these are chemical messengers, will help in transfer of message or impulse or signal from one neuron to another, okay. So that message which is transferred chemically from one neuron to the other, that is done with the help of these chemicals or chemical messengers, and these chemical messengers are called as neurotransmitters. We are going to learn about them in detail in one of the subsequent lectures, where I am going to explain chemical synapse. Chemical synapse is when one neuron sends a message to the other neuron chemically, okay. There are two types of synapse. There is an electrical synapse, there is a chemical synapse. But anyway, coming back to the topic, so these neurotransmitters which help in sending the message to the next neuron chemically, these neurotransmitters are basically produced by Nissel's granules. So what happens is, the Nissel's granules, They are basically responsible for the formation of the enzyme which further forms the neurotransmitter. So if I want to write it down over here, I can show a simple flowchart where Nissel's granules, they are responsible for the production of an enzyme, and that enzyme is responsible for the production of neurotransmitter. So basically the Nissel's granules are responsible for the production of neurotransmitters. If there are no Nissel's granules, then there will be no neurotransmitters. If there are no neurotransmitters, then the message from one neuron to another will not be able to pass chemically. I hope this is clear. Okay, so the function of Nissel's granules is basically formation of neurotransmitters by initially forming an enzyme. I hope this is clear. Okay. The second thing which is present in the cyton are the neurofibrils. Now what are neurofibrils? See, the neurofibrils play a very important role, because what happens is, as you know, the message first enters the dendrons. Okay, when I draw a structure of a neuron, the message first enters the dendrons, then it goes to the cyton, and then from the cyton it goes to the axon. So this flow of message from dendron to cyton to axon, that is basically done with the help of neurofibrils. So these are small fibrils, that is why they are called fibrils. They are small fibers, that is why they are called fibrils. So these neurofibrils basically help in conduction of impulse inside the neuron. Nissel's granules produce transmitters, neurotransmitters, which help in conduction of impulse between two neurons. I hope the difference is clear. Inside the neuron, the transmission of message or impulse is basically done by neurofibrils. So the function of neurofibrils is transmission of impulse inside the same neuron. I hope this is clear. Okay, chemically if you see, then the Nissel's granules are, I will write it down over here, they are supposed to be riboproteins. Riboproteins are the structures which have a pentose or a ribose sugar along with proteins attached to that. So that is a riboprotein structure. Okay, that is the structure of Nissel's granules. So I hope this part of cyton is clear. Okay, I hope the functions of both Nissel's granules and neurofibrils is clear. Both these structures make the cytoplasm appear granulated. That is why when you have a look at the structure of a neuron, the periphery or the boundary of the cyton appears dotted or granulated because of these two structures, neurofibrils and Nissel's granules, whereas the central part of the cyton, that appears clear because there are no granules and there are no fibrils present over here. Okay, apart from that, in the cytoplasm the organelles are present and a very well defined nucleus is also present. So that ends our first part of the neuron, which is called as the cyton or the soma or the cell body. Now coming to the next part, that is about the fibers which emerge from the cyton. Let us start with the first type of fibers, which are called as dendrons. So if I draw over here the structure, if you see the small conical structures which I am drawing over here, each one of them is called as a dendron. Okay, each of this conical structure which I have drawn, this is called as a dendron. Okay, now each dendron further gives rise to smaller branches which are called as dendrites. So I can draw the dendrites like this. So dendrites are basically smaller branches which are arising from the dendron. So I'll label this over here. These are dendrites. Now coming to the structure of a dendron, the cytoplasm which is present in the cyton, it is continuous with the cytoplasm of the dendron. Also the dendron has got both the structures, the neurofibrils and the Nissel's granules. So if you want, I can draw them over here. I can show the Nissel's granules which are present inside the dendron. Okay, and I can also show the neurofibrils. So you can say that the dendron also appears granular or dotted in appearance. So the cytoplasm or the matrix of the cyton is continuous with the dendron. It is not that the dendron has got a separate cytoplasm or separate matrix. It is continuous. Okay, so I hope this is clear. What is the function of the dendron? The function of the dendron is to bring the message towards the cyton. Please remember, the flow of message towards the cyton is always managed by the dendrons. So first the message will come to the dendrites. From the dendrites it will go to the dendron. From the dendron it will go to the cyton, and then from the cyton it will go to the axon. So please remember this flow of impulse. So I will write it down over here. In a neuron, the first structures which will receive the message, they will be dendrites. From the dendrites the message will go to the dendron. From the dendron it will go to the cyton. From the cyton it will go to the axon, and from axon it will go to the dendrites of the next neuron, and then continuing forward, dendrite to dendron, dendron to cyton, cyton to axon, again from axon to the dendrites of the next neuron. I hope this is clear. The message is never going to flow in the opposite direction. It is never going to flow from axon to cyton, cyton to dendron, dendron to dendrites. Never. Please remember this flow of direction. Is this clear? Please remember this direction of flow of impulse. So anyway, all right. Now coming to the next fibers which are present. The next fibers, they are called as axon. Now normally in a neuron there is only a single axon which is present. It is the longest of all the fibers. So let us start and draw the axon over here. So there is a slightly triangular part where the cyton and the axon are attached to each other, and this conical or triangular part is called as the axon hillock. Okay, so this triangular part is called as axon hillock. Now hillock is a small hill, okay, and it is also slightly triangular in shape. That is why this part is called as the axon hillock, or it is a part where the axon is attached to the cyton. Now going forward, we can continue the axon, right? The axon travels downwards. You can see this over here. So this is the axon, and towards the terminal part or towards the end, the axon divides into branches which are called as the telodendron. So I'll just shorten this slightly so that I have space, and you can see that there are branches which are coming out, right? And these structures are called as the telodendron. So this structure, this is called as the telodendron. It is the last part of the axon, and each telodendron finally ends in a part which is called as the axon terminal. It is the last part or the posterior most part of the axon. So these circular structures which I have drawn, okay, that is called as the axon terminal. This is called as the axon terminal. Now talking about the axon, the cytoplasm of the cyton is again continuous with the cytoplasm of the axon. Now we have already shown the cytoplasm with yellow color, so let me show the same cytoplasm in continuity with the axon. So I am showing these yellow dots. Now please remember, Nissel's granules are absent in axon. The Nissel's granules are only present in cyton. See, their function is basically to produce enzymes that will produce neurotransmitters, and these neurotransmitters are produced in the cyton and they are stored in the telodendron. So your axon doesn't require Nissel's fibers, because whatever neurotransmitters need to be created, they are already created in the cyton. So the axon is devoid of Nissel's granules, or Nissel's granules are absent in the axon, but the neurofibrils are present. So if you want to show that, you can show the neurofibrils, all right, because see, the neurofibrils are important for conduction of impulse throughout the neuron. So the neurofibrils will have to be present in the dendron, they will have to be present in the cyton, they will have to be present in the axon, because if in certain area of the neuron, if the neurofibrils are absent, in that area the impulse will not be able to be will not be able to conduct itself. Okay, so neurofibrils present everywhere. Nisils granules present in the dendron, cyton, but absent in the axon. I hope this is clear. Okay, now coming to the part of telodendron and axon terminal. So these are the parts which are going to be in contact with the next neuron, right? See, what happens is, what is the function of a neuron? A neuron is going to transmit an impulse, okay, or a message, and it is going to transmit the impulse or message to another neuron, or it is going to transmit the message to a target organ, or it is going to transmit the message to a specific muscle. Okay, so that job is basically controlled by the telodendron and the axon terminal. Okay, so the message from one neuron will finally end at the telodendron. From there it will go to the tip of the telodendron called as the axon terminal, and from the axon terminal that message will be sent either electrically or chemically to the dendrites of the next neuron, and this is called as synapse. I will write down the word over here, synapse. So synapse is basically the temporary connection between one neuron and another neuron, or between one neuron and another target organ to transmit the message. Is this clear? Okay, now there are different types of synapses which are present. We are going to study about these different kinds of synapses. Okay, basically there are four kinds of synapses which are present. Now what I will do is I am going to just scroll downwards. We'll come back to this diagram later on. Okay, I'll draw a simple diagram. So this is the cyton, all right, this is the axon, and these are the dendrons which I have drawn. All right, so very simple diagram. This is neuron number 1. Now if this neuron wants to send a message to the next neuron, so this is the cyton of the next neuron, these are the dendrons and the dendrites, and this is the axon, this is the telodendron. So I hope you can understand this diagram. This is neuron number 2. Now if I ask you the synapse, so synapse is this connection between these two neurons for transmission of impulse. If I ask you about this synapse, which parts are involved in the synapse, then from this first neuron the axon is involved, the telodendron is involved, that is a part of the axon, and in the second neuron the dendron is involved, right, the dendrites are involved. So such a type of synapse in which the axon of the first neuron, or the presynaptic neuron is the neuron which is going to send the impulse to the next neuron. So the axon of the presynaptic neuron sends the message to the dendron of the postsynaptic neuron. Postsynaptic neuron is the neuron which is going to receive the impulse. See, the impulse is going to flow, or the message is going to flow in this direction. Correct? So which parts of both the neurons are involved in the synapse? The axon of the first neuron and the dendron of the second neuron. So such a type of a synapse is called as axodendronic synapse. Let me write it down over here. This is an example of axodendronic synapse, right? So that means axon of the first neuron combines with the dendron of the next neuron to produce a synapse, and the impulse is transmitted. Such a synapse is called axodendronic. Very simple. There are other types of synapse. Sometimes what happens is, sometimes if we talk about a unipolar neuron, right, the first neuron is obviously a multipolar neuron over here, but suppose if the second neuron which I am drawing, it is a unipolar neuron, that means it is having a cyton and it is just having axon, it is not having dendrons. So now what happens, now the axon of the first neuron is directly going to transmit the message to the cyton of the next neuron, and such a type of synapse, it is called as axosomatic synapse. Why is it called as axosomatic? because axon of the first neuron is going to directly transfer the message or impulse to the cyton of the second neuron, and cyton is also called as soma, S-O-M-A. So it is axosomatic synapse, right? So up till now we have learned two types of synapses. We have seen exodendronic synapse, we have seen exosomatic synapse. Now coming to two other types of synapses. Suppose if I slightly change the diagram, right? Now this is your neuron number 1, and parallel to it I draw neuron number 2. Okay, these are the dendrons which I am drawing, and again this is the axon, this is the telodendron. Now suppose if this axon laterally gives off another axon, and even this axon laterally gives off another axon. So what happens is, both the axons of both the neurons, they are giving lateral branches, and these two branches are being connected. So the synapse is basically occurring over here. I hope you are understanding this. This is where the synapse is occurring. So the synapse is occurring between two axons, and such a synapse is called as axonic synapse. So what is actually happening is, both the neuron number 1 and neuron number 2, they are parallel to each other, and they are communicating, or they are transferring impulses to each other. Obviously each of the neurons will be further continued by neurons. So after this neuron number 1, there will obviously be another neuron after it. Neuron number 2 will also have another neuron following it, but this is transfer of messages laterally or parallel, right? So such a synapse between two axons is called axonic synapse. Also please remember, this branch which is given out laterally, this axon branch which is given out laterally, it is called as a collateral branch. Okay, it is called as a collateral. Please remember, this lateral branch of axon which is given out, it is called as a collateral. So if I want to show this collateral in this first diagram, then we can show a collateral over here if possible. So a collateral will be something like this, a branch which is given out sideways from the axon, and it will again divide into telodendron. Okay, and obviously this will be continuous. So I will draw the neurofibrils over here, I will show the cytoplasm over here, and this branch is called as a collateral. And when two collaterals transfer impulses, it is called as the axonic synapse. I hope this is clear. So let us go back to the diagram. So this was the third type of synapse which we have seen today. It is the axonic synapse. So up till now we have seen exodendronic synapse, axosomatic synapse, axonic synapse, and now the last type of synapse which needs to be seen, that is the synapse when the dendrons of two neurons, they communicate with each other. So that is called as the dendrodendronic. For example, suppose if this is one of the dendrons, these are the dendrites, this is another dendron, these are the dendrites, then the synapse between these two, so here the synapse is occurring between the dendrites or between the dendrons of two neurons, and this type of a synapse is called as dendrodendronic synapse. Is this clear? So we have seen four types of synapses, right? And it is very easy to remember them. The first type is when the axon of the first neuron forms a synapse with the dendron of the next neuron, and it is called as the axodendronic synapse. Then a similar synapse to this first one is when the axon of the first neuron attaches to the cyton of the second neuron. Here it is not attaching to the dendrons, it is directly attaching to the cyton. So it is called axosomatic because cyton is also called as soma. Then the third is when the collaterals from the axon of two neurons, they are passing messages. So it is called as the axo-axonic because both the structures which are involved over here are axons. So axo-axonic synapse. And the last one is when two dendrons of two neurons, they are passing message. It is called as dendronic. So I hope these four types of synapse are very clear. Okay. So that ends our part on types of synapses. Now again we have to learn certain structural components in the neuron. So let us go back to that diagram. Okay, there are quite a few things in today's lecture, so please pay attention. You can always slow down the speed of the video. Thankfully that option is there in YouTube. You can again pause, you can go back, you can rewind the video. So coming back over here, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to rub this collateral off. Okay, now there are basically two types of neurons depending upon the presence of a special layer. Okay, and this special layer, depending on whether it is present or absent, it is called as myelin sheath. I will write it down over here. The layer which is present or which is absent, it is called as a myelin sheath, or it is also called as medullary sheath. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw this layer with the help of a color which is slightly different from all these colors. So or I will use the blue color. So now suppose if I'm drawing a layer over here, please pay attention. Okay, this blue colored area, if you see, and I'm shading that area. So there is this blue layer which is present on top of the axon, and this layer is not continuous. Okay, it is discontinuous. So in between there is space where that blue layer is absent. So if you can see, this blue layer is present on top of the axon, and this layer or this sheath which is surrounding the axon, this is called as a myelin sheath, or it is called as a medullary sheath. So let me label it over here. This is called as a myelin sheath, or it is also called as medullary sheath. You can use any one of these two names. Now what happens is, not all neurons have got this layer. Okay, so the neurons which have got this myelin sheath or medullary sheath layer present on the axon, these are called as myelinated neurons. Okay, so this neuron has got this myelin sheath present. So this neuron, if I want to label it, I will call it as a myelinated neuron, or I will call it as a medullated neuron. That means that the myelin sheath or the medullary sheath is present. Suppose if this layer is absent, that means these blue areas are not present. Okay, then such a neuron is called as non-myelinated neuron, or it is called as non-medullated neuron. That means this layer is absent. Very simple. So if it is a non-myelinated or a non-medullated neuron, then this blue area will not be present, plain axon will be present. So that was the diagram which I had drawn before that. So if I just move this slightly towards the left, then a non-myelinated neuron, if you see, it will just have an axon. I'm sorry, it will just have an axon like this. So it will be not covered by this myelin sheath or medullary sheath. I hope that is clear. So such a neuron is called as non-myelinated or non-medullated neuron. Anyway, coming back to our part over here. So now what happens is, up till now we have learned that the axon is present. If the myelin sheath is present, this myelin sheath is present above the axon. Now what happens is, who is secreting this layer? So there are special type of cells which are called as Schwann cells. Okay, and what I will do is I will try to draw these cells over here, and I will be using yellow color. So these cells are basically present on the surface of the axon, and these cells secrete this myelin sheath, and because of that the neuron becomes myelinated or medulated neuron. Okay, so you will ask me, what happens to the non-myelinated or non-medulated neurons? Are these Schwann cells absent? No, the Schwann cells are also present in non-myelinated neurons, but they are inactive, so they are not going to secrete this layer. So I will just label this over here. These yellow cells, these are called as Schwann cells. Schwann cells are basically a type of helper or neuroglial cell. We'll be learning about them in the subsequent lectures. So up till now, if I want to, let me again scroll down so that it becomes easy. Now just have a look at this. Suppose if this is the axon, right, and this axon, now this is the telodendron, right? Suppose if I show you the diagram like this, so what you are seeing is, you are seeing this tip or the axon terminal. So suppose if this is the axon, correct? Now this axon, in the case of a myelinated or a medulated neuron, it will be surrounded by a layer of myelin sheath. So this will be blue color because I have drawn myelin sheath with the same color in the previous diagram, and this sheath will be present surrounding the axon. So this is the myelin sheath or the medullary sheath, right? This is the axon, and on the side will be present the cell, and this cell is called as Schwann cell. Now suppose if I am drawing a non-myelinated or a non-medulated neuron, then that neuron will have an axon which is like this over here, and directly to the axon will be attached the Schwann cell. But this Schwann cell which is present, this Schwann cell will be inactive, so that is why it is not secreting that myelin layer. Here the Schwann cell is active. So I hope this is clear. Diagram number 1 is the diagram of myelinated neuron. Diagram number 2 is diagram of non-myelinated neuron. Obviously you are seeing the axon from bottom, so that is why it is appearing in circles. Now there is a third layer which is present on the axon. Let us go back to the previous diagram. So whether it is a myelinated or a non-myelinated neuron, there is the outermost layer, and that layer is called as the neurilemma. Okay, it is Neurilemma, and this neurilemma is basically the dotted structure which I am drawing. It is the outermost covering of the neuron. If you see over here, this neurilemma is present even outside the myelin sheath, and this outermost covering on the neuron is called as neurilemma. See, membrane is called as lemma. Plasma membrane is also called as plasma lemma. So the membrane of the neuron is called neurilemma. It is the outermost. So now if I ask you that in a myelinated neuron, which layers are present on the axon, then first of all the innermost axon is present. Outside the axon is present the myelin sheath or the medullary sheath secreted by Schwann cells, and outside the myelin sheath is present the neurilemma. So 3 layers. If I am talking about a non-myelinated or non-medulated neuron, then the axon will be present, and directly outside the axon will be present neurilemma. So whether it is a myelinated or a non-myelinated neuron, the neurilemma will always be the outermost layer. So if I want to show the same thing in this diagram over here, then again using the green color I can draw neurilemma over here. So if you see, this neurilemma is also enclosing the Schwann cells. Okay, this neurilemma is present over here, and it is also present over here, and this is the outermost layer. I hope this is clear. If possible, let me draw a 3D diagram so that it becomes easier, because many people get confused. What is axon? What is myelin sheath? Okay, what is neurilemma? So, all right, let me do this. This is going to be the axon. I'm trying to draw a 3D diagram. Hopefully it works out. All right, this is the axon. Now, if it is a myelinated neuron, then it will be surrounded by a myelin sheath. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to rub this off and I'm going to draw now myelin sheath surrounding this. So if you see over here, this is the myelin sheath which is present, correct? I'm drawing 2-3 layers. Okay. And if you see, so you can see that the axon, so let me label this. This is the axon. This is the myelin sheath. Obviously, I will be drawing the Schwann cells which are present on the surface. So these cells are Schwann cells. These Schwann cells are responsible for the formation of this myelin sheath, and finally outside the myelin sheath is the last layer present, and that layer is called as neurilemma. So if you see, it is covering the myelin sheath. So I hope this diagram is clear, and this is the neurilemma. So now if you see, outermost layer neurilemma, then myelin sheath, then axon. If it is a non-myelinated neuron, then there will be the neurilemma, and directly there will be the axon, there will be the myelin sheath. I hope this is clear. So with that, we have completed the layers surrounding the axon. Okay, with that we have completed the structure of the neuron. Now coming back to this diagram, the spaces in which the myelin sheath is not present. In this diagram of myelinated neuron, there are these small areas where the myelin sheath is absent, right? For example, if I may point out, this area, the myelin sheath is absent, correct? Similarly, if you see this area, the myelin sheath is absent. The areas where that blue color is absent, that is the area where myelin sheath is absent. So these areas where only the axon is present, these areas are called as nodes, okay, and they are called as nodes of Ranvier. So let me just label it. I know this diagram is becoming more and more complex, so what I will do is, this area, this is called as node of Ranvier. So this is node of Ranvier. Similarly, this over here is another node of Ranvier. So these nodes are basically the areas present between two subsequent myelinated fibers. Okay, and these nodes of Ranvier are very, very important, because what happens is they play a very, very important role in conduction. Okay, so what happens is, let me go down, and I hope this diagram is clear, because I'll have to rub this off. So what happens is, now suppose if I'm drawing a myelinated neuron, okay, and this is the myelinated neuron, this is the axon, correct? And over here what I'm doing is, I'm going to draw the myelin sheath. So this is the area, myelin sheath, again myelin sheath. I'm going to draw a simpler diagram, that is why I had to draw another one, correct? And this is your myelinated neuron. Suppose if I want to draw non-myelinated neuron, it is going to be just like this. Now here I am not drawing neurilemma. Now what happens is, the conduction of impulse in a myelinated neuron is basically a jumping type of a conduction. So what happens is, the impulse which is coming, all right, so obviously over here the cyton will be present. Similarly over here the cyton will be present. So the message in the case of myelinated neuron, it jumps like this. So it goes from one node of Ranvier to the other node of Ranvier. Whereas if you see a non-myelinated neuron, the message just travels throughout the axon in a linear way. Now in the first diagram and the second diagram, what do you think will be a faster method of conduction? Obviously the first method shows a faster conduction rate, because the impulse or the electrical impulse is jumping. It is going from here to here, here to here. So the conduction of impulse is from one node of Ranvier to the other. If you see this diagram over here, what is going to happen is that the impulse which is formed, that impulse, it is going to jump from here to here, then from here to here, and then from here to here. I hope that is clear. That is because this is a myelinated neuron. If this was a non-myelinated or non-medulated neuron, the impulse would have traveled throughout the axon, and that takes much longer time. In fact, diagram number 1 shows 50 times faster conduction compared to diagram number 2. So that means if there are myelinated neurons one after the other and there are non-myelinated neurons one after the other, which ones will show faster conduction rate? Obviously the first ones where myelinated neurons are present one after the other. This type of a conduction where the impulse jumps from one node to another, it is called as saltatory conduction. Saltatory conduction is the conduction where the impulse jumps or skips. It is not going to travel through the axon. Is this clear? Only the exposed areas where the myelin sheath is absent, in that area it will jump, again it will go to the next exposed area. So it is going to go from one node of Ranvier to other. The exposed area is called as node of Ranvier. It is the area where myelin sheath is absent. In the case of a non-myelinated neuron, nodes of Ranvier cannot be named because the entire axon is devoid of any myelin sheath. There is no myelin sheath present. So the impulse has to travel compulsorily to the axon, and that is slower. So in the first diagram over here, I have shown a myelinated neuron, conduction is much faster. Second diagram, non-myelinated neuron, conduction is slower. Conduction in a myelinated neuron is saltatory conduction. I hope this part is clear. Is this clear? So now we have completed the structure. Now there is one more thing which I wanted to add over here. Okay, so before we start with that part, let us just quickly revise whatever we have learned. I know this, it's already been 46 minutes into the lecture now, but it's a very, very important part. So better is if we clear and revise our concepts. First of all, we learned about the cyton. It is also called as the soma, right? Or it is also called as a cell body. It is made up of a well-formed nucleus. It is made up of cytoplasm. The cytoplasm surrounding the nucleus is clear, and towards the periphery it is granulated because of two structures, Nissel's granules, neurofibrils. Function of Nissel granules is it helps in the formation of neurotransmitter. Neurotransmitters help in transmission of message from one neuron to another chemically. We'll learn that. See, there are many examples of neurotransmitters. Examples which I remember are acetylcholine, epinephrine, norepinephrine, dopamine. Okay, there are many such, adrenaline, many such examples which are present. They are called as neurotransmitters. Neurofibrils are basically helping in conduction of the impulse inside the neuron. So right now we saw saltatory conduction, that is possible because of neurofibrils. Conduction in a non-myelinated neuron is possible because of neurofibrils. So conduction inside the neuron, it is the function of neurofibril. Apart from that, organelles are present. Then we studied dendrons. They give rise to dendrites. Function of dendrites and dendron is to bring the message towards the cytosol. Next, we learned about axon. Axon doesn't have Nissel granules because the function of Nissel's granules is to produce neurotransmitters. They are produced in the cyton, so the axons do not need them. So Nissel's granules are absent, neurofibrils are present. The axon also has a cytoplasm. By the way, I forgot to tell you, the cytoplasm in the axon is also called axoplasm. Okay, because it is present in the axon, but it is continuous with the cyton. Apart from that, branches of axon which terminate, they are called telodendron, and the last part of the telodendron, they are called as axon terminals, and they come in contact with another neuron or another muscle fiber to convey the message. That is called synapse. We have learned 4 types of synapses: axodendronic, axosomatic, dendrodendronic, okay, and axoaxonic, right? These are the 4 types of synapses. I have already showed you the diagram. Okay, then coming back to our structure over here, we have studied about the layers present outside the axon. If it is a myelinated neuron, a myelin sheath will be present, or a medullary sheath will be present, which is secreted by Schwann cells. If it is a non-myelinated or non-medullated neuron, Schwann cells will be present, but they are inactive, so they do not secrete myelin sheath. And whether it is a myelinated or a non-myelinated neuron, both of them will be covered by an external covering called neurolemma. Is this clear? So all that we have seen what are nodes of Ranvier, mode of conduction we have seen. Now coming to the last part, when we talk about the nervous tissue, how are these neurons organized? So now let me draw neurons, okay, as this. Again I am going to draw a 3D diagram. These orange structures which are present, just imagine each one of them is a neuron. All right, so what happens is, this structure which I am drawing over here, this circular structure, this structure is basically called as a fascicle, F-A-S-C-I-C-L-E. A fascicle is basically a collection of many neurons together. So many neurons, just imagine they are parallel to each other, okay, and all these are together in a bundle. So that bundle is called as a fascicle, okay. Now what happens is, inside the fascicle, all the neurons which are present, let me label them, all the neurons which are present, these neurons are surrounded by a connective tissue, okay, because a connective tissue is required to connect or join all the neurons in the fascicle. So this connective tissue which is present, which I am going to draw with yellow color over here, this connective tissue which is present surrounding each neuron, this connective tissue is called as endoneurium, E-N-D-O-N-E-U-R-I-U-M. So basically just imagine that endoneurium is a covering present outside the neurolemma. But please remember, neurolemma is a part of the neuron. Endoneurium is the connective tissue which is going to connect all the neurons together in the fascicle. Okay, just imagine that if there are 10 neurons, the group of 10 neurons, that will be called as a fascicle, and all those 10 neurons will be held together by a glue which is called as endoneurium. Now the fascicle is itself surrounded by a connective tissue which is called as perineurium. So this blue colored connective tissue which is present, that is called as a perineurium, P-E-R-I-N-E-U-R-I-U-M. So you can say that each neuron is surrounded by a connective tissue called as endoneurium. Each fascicle is surrounded by a connective tissue called as perineurium. So what is going to happen is, now if I draw the structure, all right, over here, a larger structure, suppose if I draw, I don't know if I have space over here, and in this larger structure, if you see, there are many fascicles present, right, and each of this fascicle, obviously it will be made up of neurons. So I hope that this diagram makes it easy for you to understand. So now inside each fascicle, the connective tissue which I am showing in yellow, which I am drawing right now, this is what this is called endoneurium. So endoneurium is the connective tissue surrounding the neurons, right? Again I will draw endoneurium or over here. But this blue colored connective tissue, so connective tissue present between the fascicles or surrounding the fascicles, that is called as perineurium. This is perineurium. This is perineurium. And finally the connective tissue. So what happens is, many fascicles together, they form a structure which I have shown over here in green, and this is called as a nerve. So many neurons will form a fascicle, and many fascicles will together form a nerve, and the connective tissue which is surrounding the nerve, that is called as epineurium. Okay, so what do you need to remember? Each neuron is surrounded by a connective tissue called as endoneurium, and because of endoneurium, all those neurons together form a structure called as fascicle, that is a single structure. If you want to talk about plural, it is called fasciculi. If there are 3 fasciculi, that means it is a plural word. Many fasciculi together come, and each fascicle is surrounded by a connective tissue which is called as perineurium. Many fasciculi together form a nerve, and each nerve is surrounded by epineurium. So there is endoneurium, there is perineurium, there is epineurium. I hope this is clear. Okay, so that is it. If you want me to draw even a more simpler diagram, which I think I will try. All right, so first of all, I'm going to draw this. This is neuron. Outside the neuron, I'm going to draw a fascicle, and outside the fascicle, I'm going to draw a nerve. And now if you want to see the covering, this covering of the neuron, that is called endoneurium. This covering of the fascicle is called perineurium, and this covering of the nerve is called epineurium. Obviously, each fascicle will be having many such neurons, right? Each nerve, so I should probably make this bigger so that it appears realistic. Each nerve will have many fasciculi, and in turn each will have neurons. Is this clear? So I hope so. These are the 3 connective tissue which are present in the nervous system. And with that, we end our today's lecture. I hope this part is clear. Okay, so today we have studied the entire structure of a neuron. We have taken the example of a multipolar neuron. The structures are obviously going to be same in unipolar and bipolar, just that the number of fibers will be less. Okay, so we have completed the structure. We have seen the types of synapses. We have seen the difference between a myelinated and non-myelinated neuron. Okay, we have also seen the connective tissues which are surrounding the neuron. So with that, we end our today's lecture. If you have yet not subscribed to my channel, kindly do so. Press the bell icon. Do share these videos with your friends. Please like, comment, and thanks a lot.